Hey y'all, and welcome back to Miracle Farm 1927 Homestead. So today we are going to be making applesauce, but something really fun has happened in my life here lately. I went out west for the second time to visit my Amish friends in Arkansas. And for a very special trip, we went to Missouri to Laura Ingalls Wilder's home, which is called Rocky Ridge Farm in Missouri. It is in a little small town called Mansfield, and the town is still small. They have like under 1,500 people that still live in the township. So I thought it was absolutely amazing. I fell in love with it. And something that made it even more special is I came home with a cookbook, which happens to be most of Laura and Almanzo's favorite dishes. One of the dishes happens to be an applesauce cake. So we will show you in more detail in this video the cake recipe itself, and we might just make one. But today, I'm going to sit this down, I'm picking the apples to make the applesauce cake with. So y'all are just going to help me out. I'm wearing something very special. This is the dress that my friend made me. She's not just a sweet friend of mine, she's also a kindred spirit, and she just happens to be Amish. And something I love about their lifestyle is how simple it is. And that was something I really enjoyed being at Laura Ingalls Wilder's home. I got to tour the house that her and Almanzo built with their own hands. It took them 17 years to build, and they lived in it for many happy years together, and she died there. But what made it so special for me is I felt at home there. Not just the sentimental, oh, I felt at home, it felt homey. I felt at home. That home reminded me of my own home. It's a little small 2-story farmhouse. It only has about 4 big rooms in it, and the rest of the rooms are little small ones off to the side. And it has a little upstairs in it that's like a half a story, just like our home. But not only that, the feeling in that house is simple. Laura Ingalls was an author. She wrote books that we are still reading and making movies about and watching TV shows about to this day. But she had a simple little life. She has a wood stove that she made every single meal with wood. They heated their home with wood. And their daughter, for a retirement gift, built them a house with all the modern luxuries, such as indoor plumbing and electric heating and running water and an electric stove. But after living in that house for 8 years, they got homesick for their home place and moved back to the home where they had no electric stoves, and they had to heat with wood again. But that home made me realize how beautiful our simplistic life is. I have Amish friends and I have Mennonite friends, but I'm not Amish or Mennonite. I'm just plain and simple love this simple lifestyle. And what I love about Laura Ingalls Wilder is she captured that time period and put it in a book. And that's why we love it so much. There's so many people that say, oh man, I love Little House on the Prairie. I so wish that I could have lived back in a simple time like that. Hi, this is me. I'm Miracle. I live in the 21st century. It is 2022. I'm out here in my prairie dress that my sweet friend made for me with her own hands. I'm picking apples from our apple tree in our front yard. And I'm about to go make a pie from a recipe that's over 100 years old, or a cake. Whichever, you can make both. This is now. This is my life. Another thing I loved about visiting Laura's house in Mansfield, Missouri, was that they moved out there, her and Almanzo, to have an easier life so they could have an orchard and grow apples. So I got to see the few apple trees that were still there that Almanzo planted with his own 2 hands. That's why this cookbook is so special, because they have their apple cooking recipes in it. But what is amazing about Laura's story is she didn't start writing her books until she was 65 years old. and she passed away in 1957. But she lived many, many years with people around the world buying her books, tens of thousands of people. I believe they said for her 80th birthday, she was sent over 1,000 cards, 1,000 birthday cards. And even though she was this great woman of wonderful esteem and brilliant and wise, she didn't show it off. She cooked on the same wood stove her and her husband put in their home to the day she died. She decided to live a simple life. She moved around and traveled almost all of the West when she was younger with her family. But she decided her own self with her husband to live that simple life until the day she died. And that's what I've decided to do. And that's what my family decided to do. And that's why I was raised plainer than a regular child. I wasn't thrown in public school. I wasn't thrown out into the world just to make it on my own. I was thrown out here in the field so I can learn what work ethic was and to learn what working with your family is like. And building those values, and that's something so rare. But I'm so grateful Laura did it, and I'm excited to do it myself.
From the cookbook on page 92. With the purchase of Rocky Ridge came hundreds of apple trees, bundled and waiting for a home in the ground. At a glance at his farmland convinced Almanzo that his wheat-raising days had ended. The land was more suited for dairying and orcharding. While the apple trees sat in burlap, Laura and Almanzo worked to clear planting space for them. Together, they removed brushed and felled trees. Laura pulled one end of the crosscut saw, and through the first year on Rocky Ridge, she was Almanzo's most frequent helper. When the trees were planted, Almanzo used simple organic farming methods. He fertilized with wood ash and manure. He allowed no hunting on his land, so the quail were thick in the orchard, eating insects that otherwise could have harmed the trees. This is Laura Ingalls' applesauce cake, and I have already got some grated butter in here. I just got it out of the refrigerator and didn't set it out so it wasn't room temperature, so I grated it so it would get room temperature quicker. And we have eggs, we have applesauce that I canned, we have molasses. The recipe doesn't call for molasses, but this is for molasses making day, so we're going to put just a little bit in there. Sugar, flour, and in the flour is the baking soda, salt, cinnamon, and cloves. So that's all your ingredients. Now I am more than doubling this recipe, so it looks like a lot of ingredients, but it was just for one little 9-inch round pan, and I've got to feed a lot of people, so I will put the recipe on this video, and I will leave it down in the notes below. Alright, it starts out with like regular cakes. We're going to cream the butter and the sugar. always put 1 or 2 eggs in to help the creaming along. If you just put 1 or 2 and cream the butter with it, it will mix up a whole lot faster. So now that's all incorporated, I'm going to put the rest of the eggs in. Now I'm going to put in that little bit of molasses. We got to have a little bit of molasses in everything. Okay, that's not too much. Put my finger off. Now, the recipe says that we put the flour and the applesauce in like you would normal recipes. You put a little milk in and then you put the flour in. Well, this says to do that with the applesauce. So I'm going to put just a little bit in and a little bit of my mixture of all the spices and flour. I am going to have a bowl full. That molasses just gave it a good enough of a little fall color. So we're going to add another cup of applesauce. And I'm going to keep doing this. So I'm going to cut you off so you don't have to watch me do this whole thing. It turned out to be a beautiful fluffy batter. A little bit stiff. So we're going to see how it does. We're going to get it in the pans. So here's Laura's cakes all ready to go into the oven. I know this pan looks awful and terrible, but it's probably about 65 years old. I got it from my mom, so we just keep it around because it's Mom's. And made a little extra one for the family. And these two are for the sorghum making. So I'm going to get them in the oven and then I'll bring you back. Doubling the recipe in the cookbook, made 1 like pound size cake for a tube pan. So I actually made this recipe 4 times. Okay, I got me a taste tester here. Try her out. Is it hot?
Wow. That's gonna go.
Can you taste all the flavors?
Mm-hmm.
Can you?
Mm-hmm.
It was a little crumbly. That's the only thing we saw when we cut it. It was a little crumbly. But really good.